you need to put in a little more effort than just one audience and just let it run. At least with $20, it's like, set it up, you run to one audience, it doesn't work after 2-3 days, put another audience, and you're going to do this every day.
Hey folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Blah Blah podcast. How many times do I have to say that wrong? I have a really cool, that's the first time I foobarred this, so might as well have a good time with you, David. David Schloss, welcome to the call.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for that. We'll do a little better next time. I'll maybe even redo that intro. But I am here. Dave and I have a long history, so we go way back. We've had our ups and downs in the years we've known each other. It's like 5 years. How long have I known you now?
5-6 years. Yeah.
At least. Yeah. So we've seen a lot of life together. He's moved, I don't know, 4 times since I've known you.
Three, so close. Yeah.
At least as he's settled in and gotten things done. And as you just said, he's got his new home office. So if you're watching on the video, you'll see this. If not, you're just listening. That's cool too. But David's here to share some good value in the area and space of paid traffic. That is his forte. That's what he's done. He's done a lot of Facebook. I know he's ventured into other areas he might want to share about today, but I know he's predominantly been working on leads and generation and e-commerce and scaling in the Facebook space. We're going to unlock some of that combo today. But the first thing we want to start off with is a few seconds about who you are and why we should listen to you. David, why do we care? Why do we care, man? What's up with you?
Yeah, so this is year 15 of me in business. I got a very early start back in 2007, not even running ads online. First thing I did was SEO, got into some web design. I fell into the paid ads realm all because I was tired of doing SEO and other things like that for other people. But also because paid ads at the time was so new, not many people were doing it, and social media was just starting to truly take off in a sense of people signing up for those sites. Facebook, back then was MySpace, a lot of other networks, but that don't exist. But
I don't think my page is there anymore.
Yeah. But the main thing was really just understanding the fact that I love math, and a lot of paid ads is math, right? As much as it's like understanding trends and, campaign setup and all that, it's also understanding how to essentially manipulate your budget to turn into customers. And so I was really good at using all the different calculations in this case, Facebook, figuring out how many dollars do I put in to acquire a customer? How many customers can we acquire in this space? Can we do it for this many people? So on and so forth. And I sort of ran with Facebook and then Instagram when it came along later, because one, it was getting the most attention. Everyone was like, I want to start running Facebook ads, whether it was with Teespring back in the day or when Shopify came around and WooCommerce. So the more and more platforms that came out, the more people were like, I need Facebook and Instagram ads. So it was a gold mine for me, but it took 7-8 years before it really started to take off. And so you could see that half my business career was waiting for that moment. And then the other half has just been very prosperous ever since then, because to this day, even with all the craziness that's going on in Facebook world, Meta, I should say, it is basically still the one platform that people ask me for every day. Because they know that you could start with as little as $1 a day. If you want to just learn, you could start with $1.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Yep. And so you've unpacked this. So let's go a little deeper into this, right? Because I know the most relevant things I know I'm going to hear back from people about this, and I'm sure you do too, is relevancy in 2022 right now.
Yeah.
To product, to cost, to CPM, to paid traffic for my particular area. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, is it still relevant to run ads on Facebook?
Yes. The traffic's still there. Right. And you also have to remember, much like me, I've grown with the network, right? When I started, I was 18. I'm 33 now, which also means that I have adult money that I could spend on things that I get targeted with, right? So you
put air quotes on the adult money.
I mean, that's what it is. There's plenty of people I know who are much younger with tons of money, right? But it's more along the lines that, you promote something to me and I want it. I could just buy it. Right. Back then I would have been like, nah, I don't want it, or I can't afford it. You show me something for my kitchen, I'm going to buy it. You show me something that's clothing related, I'm just going to buy it. It's because I can just do that. Right. And I would second guess myself a lot more in my early 20s. So as the network has gotten older, people have noticed that, it might take a little longer to acquire a purchase, but the purchase volume in terms of the value, I should say, is much more if you can do this right. And so even on a local level, whether you're promoting a service or a product, it could still work in your favor. It just depends on where you live, right? It's going to work more effectively in Miami, Fort Lauderdale than it would be in, let's say, a small town in northern Tampa.
Okay, that's interesting. Let's dig in here a little bit because you're either two types of people are probably listening to this. Those who want to try it and maybe tried or failed in the past, and those who are doing it right now might be looking for opportunities to maybe lower CPM and gain some traction. Let's talk to those two for a second. Let's start with those who haven't been running yet and maybe consider running today. What would you tell them right now?
Yeah. So if you have a broad offer, meaning something that could be sold nationally or even internationally, you still have tons of opportunity because the CPMs will vary based on the country if you're doing international. And it will also vary based upon, let's say, the industry that you're in. For example, when I'm selling supplements, it's so broad because it's anyone in the country can buy them. My CPM might be, let's say, $15 or $20. It's still relatively low, right? Back then it might have been 5 or 10, but let's just say now it's 15. Whereas if I'm selling something specifically to, let's say, vegans and only vegans, that CPM goes from 15, 20 now to 30, 40. And for some people, they might say, oh, that's not that bad. Well, it is if your product is $30 and you have to acquire a buyer for less than 20, right? So now you're playing with margins that are very, very slim. And you know from experience working with me, it's like the margins are super tight on anything that's less than $30, basically. You have to hit the nail on the head immediately, or else you're just acquiring buyers for the sake of acquiring buyers, regardless of price, right? So I would say that if you have something that's lower end or lower ticket, you have to basically focus on your ad creative and your ad copy to get as many people to buy as possible. Like you have to basically create clickbait or some form of like excitement around a product in order to make that cost per purchase low enough to make sense.
So if you're getting involved, you got to think about the second and third time you interact with that customer.
Yes.
Not just the first time due to CPM cost or getting your targeting locked in right out of the gate.
And that's what people are talking about when they say it's too expensive. They're only focusing on that first click. They're not looking at second and third viewing. They're not looking at the second or third click. They're just talking about that first click is too expensive. And for them, that click being $3 could be too expensive. It's still expensive to me to be a $3 click, but in some industries, a $5 click is cheap.
Yeah, it is. It's been like right now in my industry, it is because CPLs and costs have gone up. And obviously, you've got to have a second and third wave. You've got to have a parade of products behind that. I think so many people are going in with the idea I can sell a $37 product and make $1 million.
Right.
And that's probably true if you have something in the second and third level to sell them after you've acquired them on the front end. Would you say that's fair?
That's very fair. And I'll throw in the part about local because I was just talking about national and international. Local automatically can assume your CPM is going to be higher. Why? Finite area, finite group of people, you're going to get charged more. Now, once again, it's different to be charged in Miami, Florida than, let's say, Bradenton, Florida, right? It's very different size community. One's probably 20 times bigger than the other, right? Probably way more than that, but it's still very large. That larger populace will, let's say, be a $30 or $40 CPM just because of the fact that it's in a state. You're not even targeting the whole state. You're targeting just a city. If you targeted the whole state, maybe it'll lower just a bit more. But the more refined you become, the more it's going to cost. And then you got to take it even further. Now you've refined it by city, and now you're going to refine it by people interested in a specific product or service. So now it's niched down even more, and it's going to cost even more.
Yep.
That's why I often tell people services locally do the best because they're typically
services locally. Yeah. You're talking about lead service generation, things for like solar or electrical, or I got a
higher ticket local.
Higher ticket local. So if you're in that niche, that's what you want to kind of focus on. If you're on the lead generation side of maybe consulting, coaching, or this kind of stuff, obviously you're going to do more broad-based US type of coaching, lead generation, correct?
Yeah. Tough to do that stuff locally. A lot better to do it nationally or even internationally. It's more predominant online anyway, so it's like you might as well open up where you're going to be working with people. Whereas, if we're talking like a realtor, they have a specific area. And if they want to be the superstar of that area, blanket the whole place with ads. Don't get me wrong, that's a perfect way to do it, is just blanket the entire area with look at me, right? This is what I do. Here's how great I am.
Determine which one.
But you also don't need $500 a day to do that. You could do that for $20 a day in some areas. Right? It's not that hard. So yeah, it's still a very viable source of traffic, and everything from Facebook to Instagram. It's not just Facebook we're talking about. This same process works on Instagram. It's still very much a doable and worthwhile investment of time and energy. And it still produces, millions of dollars for people.
Yeah. So we're looking at the second half of these people now for a second, because what we were just talking about was a little bit of, I mean, you could apply e-com, coaches, leads, consulting, local-based businesses, event-based type of things down to the local level, like you just mentioned, and targeting a city-based for your event. Those who maybe are already running traffic in 2022, maybe they're seeing cost of CPMs that aren't great. Maybe they're seeing creatives that are flattening out too fast. What are you telling them? What's your strategies for 2022?
Yeah, creative definitely has a much shorter time span of how effective it's going to be. And so now we're finding that you have to have a content calendar. If it's ever been more important to have one, it's now. Because back then we used to say, yeah, you need a content calendar. And all that would really mean is give me content every week, give me content every 2 weeks, or every month for that matter. And just make sure you send it to me. Now we're talking, please have things not only scheduled, but get it done on time, because we know for a fact these ads are going to stop working in 7 to 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks at the most. So you have to be prepared for that switch, especially when you're scaling, right? And you know that when you start getting to a point of, let's say, 500, 1,000 a day, like you don't want to stop that momentum. Like that's your chance to keep going to that $2, $3, $4, $5,000 a day level. And you can only do that with new creative. And the same thing goes with copy. If you're going to create 3 variations of copy to use right now, as those are being tested, you should be working on the next batch and just keep that going, because once you find something that works, it does give a break to whomever's writing copy or whoever's putting together that creative, because you can reuse that as long as you possibly can, as long as the cost per purchase and the value of that purchase makes sense for you to keep using it. But let's say it lasts a month. You have a vault of stuff now that you can use the minute that ad stops working. And I say an ad because a lot of people just have one ad that's working and it's making them all the money. But what happens when that one ad dies? Right now we have to go through that whole process again of testing.
All your fish in one barrel, yeah.
All over again. Now, A good advertiser, a good one, not even a great one, just a good one, is always testing something new. So there might be 2-3 months of just consistent testing to where you're like, I'm not making as much money back. That's fine. I need to create a stack of ads that are working. And once I have 6, 7, 8 ads that are working, I could spread that out for 2-3 months. You won't have to send me anything for 2-3 months if it's working efficiently. But once again, if you're in certain industries, let's say I'll use supplements again because it's high turnover of creative.
Yep.
It's always turning over creative.
Lots of inventory.
No matter what, the longest running ad I have is maybe a month. Maybe. The minute that ad dies, I have to have another set of 5 to 7 ads out. And then maybe one of those work. I got to do it again and then again and again until I have a stack of ads I can keep reusing to maybe last another month. And so it just keeps that process moving. And a lot of industries are running into that same problem where it's like they run out of ideas. They don't know how to repurpose content that's already working. Hey, instead of an orange border, it's red. Like that's always the best example is like change the border, change what color outfit you're wearing, but say the exact same thing. Like you don't have to redo the whole creative, but it's so important.
So ad fatigue and copy fatigue, big deal. Obviously, turnover and obviously expecting a content calendar that will support the message is going to be more important. Those are really great things. What are 3 maybe other things you could think in general terms that might help somebody get started or scale? I mean, down to, let's just play with this for a second. Like, do I start with $5 a day anymore? Can I even do that? Should I start with 50? If I'm really serious about testing, what should I do and what should I expect?
So there's 2 ways to look at it. If you want to hire an ad manager, don't hire one until you're spending at least $100 a day. So if you're spending less than that, you can do it yourself. It's not hard. If you're going to start with anything, let's say you're like, I am tech illiterate. I don't know how to do anything. $1 a day. Don't mess with more than that because you need to learn what to press. You press the wrong thing, you're spending $1,000 in a day. It's game over. You're mad. You're not going to get the money back, right? Just learn how to do this first before you start putting $5, $10, $20 a day. So you could start with $1. It still works, by the way. Just so you know, Neil, like I have campaigns running at $1. I do get applications. Every now and again, I get a random purchase at $1, right? It's just because it's just running, right? And
it's just doing its thing.
It's just doing its thing. And remember, that dollar only reaches a certain amount of people every day, only gets a certain amount of impressions every day. It just so happens that one day I hit the right person and they bought my item. And
I'm assuming that's a very wide open, generic, auto everything pretty much on $1.
It's just retargeting all the people who've seen my stuff, right?
All the people. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just let it run for $1. Like it's just running in
Yeah.
the background, or $5.
Simple retargeting, right?
Simple. But that's just
Yeah.
because it's like I don't want to look at it, right? I just throw a bunch of creative in there, case studies, testimonials, you name it, anything about me, and just let it go, right? Because at the end of the day, it's only going to people who are landing on something of mine.
Who've already touched you, and it's a high effect.
Right.
Yeah. So you really want to stay in front of them is a good component. 7 touch points, as we know in business.
And you can learn the whole network while that's running, right? You just let it do its thing.
That's true.
Right?
That's a valid point.
So let's go beyond that. Let's say you want to take this serious, $20 a day, and you need to target more than one interest. Or you have, let's say if you have a pre-existing customer list, you need to create those lookalikes. You need to put in a little more effort than just one audience and just let it run. At least with $20, it's like, set it up, you run to one audience, it doesn't work after 2-3 days, put another audience. And you're going to do this every day. You're going to check it. What do my creatives look like? Are they getting a good click-through rate? What's the cost per click? What's the CPM? Like, you're going to learn how to read your data. Still not at a high level, but you're learning, right? You're just like, okay, what does this look like? Are people clicking it? Are people engaging? Are they watching my video if it's a video? Things like that. As you feel more comfortable reading the data and understanding what my price should be for a click, what is my CPM? Can I get it to fluctuate down, maybe with a better creative because it's getting more engagement? Once you learn those things, now you need to start at 50. You don't have a choice anymore. Like, now you need to start pushing it, because this is when you get the data you need daily to make decisions, not every couple days. You can actually start to get purchases at $50 if you have a product that, let's say, is $50, right? You can start getting a purchase a day or a couple purchases a day. So that's when you really start to pick up trends.
Yeah, and remember, people, just getting the first conversion is battle number one. Even if it's not even profitable yet, or it breaks even, you're taking that purchase from someone else. So that's always a win, because people will say, well, that wasn't why I'm not making any money. You got to consider it in the secondary aspects, which I'm sure we'll get to unpack at some point, probably in another call, because that's a whole nother 20 minutes, right? On what to do with attribution and on the back end of your post-click. Yeah. So if I'm going at this and I'm like, okay, CTR, CPM, AOV, CLTV, just hit me with like 4, 10, 20 different things. If I'm going to do this myself and I'm interested in what you're doing, how do I learn about it? How do I go get started with you or learn how to do this on my own?
Yeah. If you're learning this whole process, you're like, I just need to get my feet wet and figure out this whole thing. I have a community called Convert University. It breaks down everything that I've done since day one and learned the entire Facebook and Instagram ad platform. And yes, this includes Messenger and WhatsApp. Like, it includes all the components of the meta universe of ads now, but essentially Facebook's network. And it walks through not just the setup, but how you need to test, the creative, your targeting, your copy. And then when you're ready for scale, how to scale, what types of scale, individual campaigns, as I call them, cluster campaigns, how to scale with lower budgets, high budgets, the whole deal, right? It's everything you need to go from point A to point Z at scale. And most people, they stop at one point. They get to $100 a day and their brain fries and they're like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again. My goal is to get you to where you can at least be spending hundreds of dollars a day and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like building a muscle, right? So I'm essentially teaching you everything I've done through all these years of running ads, and how you can get it to the point of either, let's say, passing it off to an ad manager, training your own media buyers, or getting it to the point where, let's say, you can give it to someone like myself to scale the account for you because you've already done all the heavy lifting. And now I can take you from, 500 a day to 5,000 a day.
So in all your time spending, David, in this since 2007, how much in ad spend have you actually spent?
Last time I did a calculation, it's going to sound fake.
No, I know it is, but it's true, regardless of what people think. It's true. I know it is.
It's over $100 million.
Yeah. So you are a serious player, just so we're clear, and you run ads for some of the largest names anybody can probably come up with. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And I know that all that experience and stuff leads into a couple of different areas, as we talked about, whether you want to do it yourself or if you want to just jump forward, if time is an issue and you've got the money, but you want to get to the results and you want to take advantage of $100 million in ad spend experience. How can someone get in front of somebody like you to take that experience and help leverage it in their business?
Yeah, so if you want direct access to me, it's just david@convertroi.com. Just email me directly. put in the subject line, ad management, ad consulting, something that's very specific to what I do day to day for my clients. And then we can discuss whether or not your project or whatever it is you're working on is something that I can help with and my team can be a part of as well. We work with all sorts of different industries over the years, all sorts of ad spends. Smallest accounts have been a couple $1,000 to our largest account right now is $500,000 a month, right? So no budget scares us. It's really just a matter of, does the product or service fit what we know we could be successful with? And if not, we know people who can make it successful, right? But we want to at least make sure we could take on someone and do a great job for them.
So knowing you, I can tell you you're a man of your word, you're a man of integrity, and I'm honored to have you on and sharing some information. Guys, there were some pro tips that were caught today. If you didn't catch it, I recommend you go back and listen to this again because he gave out some really great information if you didn't catch it the first time. David, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you sharing some great information with everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you.